Bienvenidos FRIGHT FANS, and welcome to the horror show. I'm Jaime En Fuego here for a special segment for all of you peeps today that is going to be ongoing here in 2017 and who knows, maybe even beyond that. I am very happily and very devoutly calling it Hail to Stephen King, baby! Yeah, anybody in the know catches my reference to Army of Darkness and Mr. Groovy Bruce there, but as you can see by all of these awesome books beside me, Stephen King is my favorite author. I did a video segment last year in 2016, which was called Why You Should Read Stephen King, but this is going to specifically explore 3 of his short stories that did not appear in 2015's The Bazaar of Bad Dreams. And that was a really awesome collection of short stories similar to Night Shift, Skeleton Crew, Everything's Eventual. He's done a ton of these over the years because King often puts stuff in smaller publications, magazines, newspapers, things like that, whether local or national. And, just because so many beloved fans like myself and millions of others across the planet love the guy so much, they're like, come on, King, hook me up, let me read these. Don't make it like an insane chore to actually track them down. But Bazaar of Bad Dreams, ironically, did not have 3 specific collaborations that El Rey did, 2 with his son, and 1 with STEWARD O'NAN, who he wrote the non-fiction book Faithful with, which the only scary thing in that is how long it took the Boston Red Sox to actually get over that curse and win another World Series, which was actually pretty cool, but that is for another video at another day. So these 3 stories are not in Bazaar of Bad Dreams, and so I was forced to go and seek them out. First and foremost being from this collection right here, which is dedicated to Richard Matheson. Richard Matheson wrote a short story called Duel, which was then kind of, an homage was done by Joe Hill, aka the son of Stephen King, the firstborn and, oldest son of old Stevie K. And so that short story, you can only find it in this collection, and I think it's also floating around as an audiobook and as an ebook on the interwebs and whatnot. That story I highly recommend. It was super cool. It was basically, a continuation of the road rage theme that we see in Duel. And so these guys, this biker gang, a native biker gang, as they kind of jokingly call themselves, even though there's nobody really native in the entire crew. And they essentially have to go play damage control after a meth lab that they have funded has blown up and people get killed. It gets kind of nasty. And so when they're deciding if they're going to go back to Vegas or what they're gonna do, turns out a big, huge semi starts following this biker gang and just like running the fools over. There's a father, his estranged tweaker son, who was like whispering in his ear to actually put this venture together to begin with. It's bloody. It's funny, it's intriguing for, the sheer fact of a fractured family dynamic, in the fact that you have this father who seemingly cares about his son, but there's so much damage that has been done, especially since the kid came back from the Iraq War. It's very 2009 when it came out, but it's timeless in its themes, and it's really gory, interesting, well written, shows the talent does not fall very far from the tree when it comes to, Joe Hill and his father. And so, yeah, I cannot recommend tracking down Throttle. That is the title of the short story. You will not find it anywhere else except for, once again, in this tribute to the deceased Richard Matheson, and you can also find it, by itself. So jump on your Amazon or wherever you get your digital books or your Audibles or whatever it may be. Be sure to check that out. Now, the next thing that I will be discussing, unfortunately, I don't have a picture for because both of these have never really seen a proper release. Now, the aforementioned collaboration with STEWARD O'NAN, which is called A Face in the Crowd, is a really intriguing story to me. It's not supremely scary, but it's got that cool building King eeriness. And the reason I love short stories so much and anthology horror in general is because of the fact that it's almost like watching an anthology, series like The Twilight Zone or Tales from the Crypt or whatever it may be. It's self-encompassing, so there's no like sequel portions really or anything like that, and it's easy to digest. It's just a small little tidbit, a little bite of the scarific. I love this story for the sheer fact that it's about older guy and he loves baseball. You know, you can't be that surprised when STEWARD O'NAN, who also did the aforementioned Faithful with Stevie K, is actually collaborating on a short story. But this elderly guy, you know, his wife is dead, unfortunately, and so, you know, since living on his own, he's come more and more to just enjoy watching baseball even more than before. He'll throw on a game, you know, make his TV dinner or whatever it may be. You can tell that his life is obviously not the same. There's an essence of melancholy, maybe some tinges of despair, but you know, he keeps on living and he still finds joy in things, and one of those things is America's favorite pastime, as I think they once called it. I would argue it's either, you know, American football, which still makes no sense to me, or basketball, but nonetheless, he watches these games, and then all of a sudden, he starts seeing faces in the crowd of dead people, dead friends of his, including his wife at one point. And so it's an intriguing dynamic, and it just really, it's not supremely long. It builds very well, and this one did not appear in any previous publications. It was strictly an ebook, and then it also was released as an Audible, as an audio offering. I especially enjoy these audiobooks because, you know, especially if you're driving around in the vehicular or whatever, or you're on the train or whatever it may be, guys, you can just fully immerse yourself in it. And the fact that some of these really talented voice actors, they will often they'll throw their voices in multiple areas and really differentiate characters. And this one, great ending, eerie, creepy, building, as I've mentioned a few times. And so this was never technically in true print, so I have to recommend, just like with Throttle, the collaboration that King did with his son, I definitely recommend The Face in the Crowd. You can't find it anywhere else except for in that digital format. Now lastly, I've saved the best for last. So in 2012, King put out the just mentioned A Face in the Crowd, and then he put out In the Tall Grass. And I pause because just thinking about this story almost gives me shivers about its strange, creepy grossness. Now, this was originally published in 2 parts in Esquire magazine. We won't discuss them or poke any fun or anything. However, it's another collaboration with his son, Joe Hill. Now, Joe Hill, we have to say, has done Nosferatu, Heart-Shaped Box, Horns, which was adapted into a movie with Daniel Radcliffe. That's right, Mr. Harry Potter in it. So yeah, Joe has done great stuff in both the world of novels and short stories and stuff. It's actually 20th Century Ghosts, if I'm not mistaken, yet he's also had a lot of success in the comic book world. Lock and Key is one that my co-host here on the horror show, Cecil, Laird, absolutely adores and thinks is great. So this feels at times more like Joe, and then at other times it feels more like Steve. So it's a cool contrast, and yet it's fucked up. Yeah, I dropped my F-bomb there. This story is about a brother and sister duo. The sister is pregnant, and the brother is like helping her along on this road trip. She's gonna go live with family and have the kid and stuff like that. And they obviously have like a real close-knit bond, right? But very intriguing premise and very just spooktacular in the fact that as they're driving and hitting all these different monuments in the Midwest, they end up at this spot in Kansas. Then all of a sudden one of them decides, let's roll down the window. The other one's like, let's turn down the music. And they hear a child crying. Help me, I'm lost, somebody help me, please, please. And they're just like, did you hear that? Did you, like, what's going on? So they immediately pull off the side of the road and they see this tall field of grass. Kind of creepy already, right? I mean, especially with thinking about King doing stuff like Children of the Corn and whatnot, but they start hearing the voice more. And they're like, oh my God, some kid is lost out there. We gotta go find them. They see an abandoned vehicle just beside the field, and it's got decomposing food in it, and it looks like it's been there for quite a while. Maybe that should have tipped them off initially, but they wander into this tall grass, and the kid, it almost seems like he keeps getting further and further, like as opposed to, you know, coming right up to them as they're calling for him and trying to help him, he's actually running away from them. He's actually luring them somewhere. You probably can guess where this is going, and it is without a doubt the most messed up Stephen King short story that yours truly has read in recent memory. It's cool because it has those modern pop culture references like to The Walking Dead and stuff, and I'm pretty sure that's coming from Joe, but there's also memories of the past and cool things like that, and that typical King touch of just places being creepy. This echoed the short story N from Just After Sunset, I believe the short story collection is called. It reminded me of that a lot, but it comes to a conclusion that I found so unsettling. I actually stopped with just a few pages left in this, and I had to just take a moment to realize what exactly was happening and how disgusting it was. I feel like I'm giving this too much buildup at this point, but it's there. I mean, I don't think I'm the only one in this sentiment and in this frame of mind and just experiencing this reaction to these short stories. So, man, In the Tall Grass is definitely the one that I recommend the most. The audiobook is read by Stephen Lang, who everybody will know from recently being in Don't Breathe. He did a hell of a job in that despite not having much dialogue. Many of you will probably know him from, Avatar, and he is working so valiantly to be cast as, as Deadpool's, Homeboy Cable and the sequel to that film. But yeah, Stephen Lang does a great job reading it. That's how I experienced it, and that's how I recommend doing it. But if you just want to be unsettled and imagine things in your own head, definitely check out the ebook as well. So those are the three that we discussed today. Throttle by Stephen King and Joe Hill, A Face in the Crowd by Stephen King and STEWARD O'NAN, and then lastly, my personal favorite of this amazing trio that I'm honestly really sad did not end up in the BAZAAR of Bad Dreams, which is In the Tall Grass, also with his son Joe Hill. I gotta extend a grande gracias to all you Stephen King fans that are checking this out. Hail to the King, baby, that's right. I have been going through the entire Stephen King library. I started about 6+ years ago. It is definitely getting up there, and I am very, very close to reaching the finish line. As you can tell, I'm about to start Joyland, which he wrote in 2013, so that's why I was going through some of the BAZAAR of Bad Dreams short stories in the published order, just like I've gone through all of these books in the published order, and I was like, hey, where's In the Tall Grass? Where's Face in the Crowd? Where's Throttle? Where are these? And so I went and sought them out, and damn was I happy that I did. So amazing. So in any event, I will wrap things up once more and urge you guys to check out some ongoing content that is going to be coming on the 19th. That's right. Of every month leading up to the Dark Tower film. That is the next bit of coverage I will be doing about the King. It is going to be book by book leading up to the big screen version of the Dark Tower. On the 19th of January here, I will be tackling The Gunslinger. That's right, the original Dark Tower, which was originally released in fragments as well, before being collected into the story that all of us know and love, that dealt with a little bit of Roland's childhood and with his first encounter with, meeting Jake and getting all that going. So, in any event, I've been Jaime En Fuego. I extend that grande gracias once more. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. You can find me weekly here on The Horror Show, and also doing content as much as I can on my side and personal project, Enfuegotainment. You'll see some of the Horror Show peeps on there, like Marsha Parker, Cecil, Laird, Brittany Lee, Susie von Slaughter, and a lot of the familiar crew can be seen on there as well. And that's where I cover the hottest entertainment with an edge, everything that's not supremely frightening and more on the fantasy comic book side of things and whatnot. But once more, y'all, hail to the King, baby. Make sure to check out those short stories that I mentioned, and until my next bit of coverage with the King, hasta luego, sin amigos, as I like to call you guys. But until we see each other next time, stay scared. Read Stephen King.